Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get to the insights that, well, really matter. Today, we're diving deep into something timeless but also super relevant right now. Maintaining a state of calm and understanding the stages of meditation, our source material. It's drawn from some really rich foundational texts, lots of wisdom there about the meditative path. And our mission today is pretty clear. Cut through the jargon. Find the absolute essential insight for building a stable, clear, and frankly resilient mind. Okay, so let's get into it. We're looking at how we can actually genuinely settle our minds and what that whole inner journey looks like. It's definitely more than just sitting quietly. It feels more like actively building an inner sanctuary.
Yeah. Exactly. And, while these ideas are ancient, they gives a really direct, powerful blueprint, especially for anyone seeking more focus, more inner peace in this, let's face it, pretty overwhelming world. Think of it as maybe a shortcut to practicing more effectively. Doesn't matter if your goal is just personal growth, less stress, or, deeper spiritual exploration. It's a roadmap to clarity.
Right. So where do we start? Let's talk about the absolute must-haves for any kind of sustained meditation practice. These teachings mention four crucial mental aspects, almost like the gear you need before you even start the climb. It's not just sitting, is it? It's how you mentally show up. Can you walk us through those attitudes?
Absolutely, and they're critical. The wisdom here really emphasizes that without them, our intention just fizzles out. First is conviction and effectiveness. You genuinely have to believe the practice works. If there's doubt, well, you're starting on shaky ground. Second, a deep intention not to discontinue, like a real resolve to keep at it even when it gets tough, because it will. Third is determination in the face of difficulties, basically resilience. You need that grit when obstacles pop up. And finally, mental flexibility, so you avoid getting rigid or maybe overconfident or just stuck. And here's the thing many beginners miss, I think. Meditation isn't just something you do with your eyes closed. It's a state you cultivate before you even sit. Without that prep, it's like trying to climb Everest in sneakers, right? You're setting yourself up for a struggle. The texts warn that without these anchors, we just drift into a kind of spiritual laziness, complacency, and eventually we lose interest.
That's such a key point. It really does sound like the unspoken rules of the game. So what happens, practically speaking, if someone just glosses over these, thinks the real work only starts on the cushion?
Well, the fallout can be pretty significant. If you skip that initial setup, the teachings say you'll find it really hard to maintain proper mindfulness. Your alertness stays weak, ineffective, really. So even if you do spot an obstacle, like dullness or maybe your mind racing, you see it as this huge, major problem, not just a manageable state.
So it feels overwhelming.
Exactly. Leads to discouragement, giving up. And there's another common trap, especially early on. Confusing pleasant feelings, maybe bliss or a sense of clarity that pops up with actual deep concentration.
Right, thinking this is it, I've made it.
Precisely. But those feelings, while nice, aren't the goal. They're not samadhi. And actually clinging to them, that can cause more mental excitement, which pulls you right back out of balance.
Okay, that makes total sense. So if those four attitudes are the prep work, what are the main tools we use during the practice? The teachings highlight two key players: mindfulness and alertness. How do they work together?
They're like an inseparable duo, really.
Yeah.
Each vital. Mindfulness is what keeps your attention on your chosen object, whatever you're focusing on. It stops the mind wandering off to, random thoughts, sounds, whatever. It's like a gentle tether, constantly recalling the object. Then there's alertness. Think of it as the sentry, the guard on watch.
Okay, the sentry. Watching for what?
Watching for obstacles. Specifically, dullness, where the mind gets foggy, sleepy, or excitement, where it's agitated, distracted, jumping around. Without alertness, you honestly wouldn't know if your meditation is working or if your mind drifted off 5 minutes ago without you noticing.
Right. So mindfulness holds the focus. Alertness scans for trouble.
Exactly. And the interplay is key. If alertness spots an obstacle, you apply an antidote. For dullness, you apply a kind of strengthening effort. Brighten the mind, clarify it. For excitement, you relax. You soften the grip, let go a bit. But here's the really subtle, fascinating part. Once the obstacle is gone, you must stop the antidote. Immediately.
Don't keep pushing or relaxing if you don't need to.
Precisely. You let the mind settle back into equilibrium. No extra effort. It's this active, self-correcting system, not just trying hard, but intelligent awareness. Keep applying antidotes when they're not needed. That just creates new problems, like poking a dead fire, Just make smoke.
That's a great image. And it makes me think, if we make these subtle mistakes, what about overlooking those foundational attitudes we started with? The texts warn against underestimating them. What's the real cost there?
Well, like we touched on, if you neglect them, maintaining mindfulness becomes really, really difficult. Alertness stays weak, ineffective, and obstacles feel like huge dramas, not just passing states. And yeah, that misconception about pleasant feelings, bliss, clarity becomes a big trap. People think that's the goal. They grasp at it. And that grasping is excitement. It pulls them away from real stability. Sustained, proper mindfulness helps you navigate that without getting snagged.
Okay, so let's say we grasp the fundamentals, the right attitude, mindfulness, alertness. What does the journey actually look like? What are the stages? The texts use a beautiful analogy from the master Tilopa.
Yes, Tilopa's analogy is very vivid. He says the beginner's mind is like a waterfall,
A waterfall.
turbulent.
Exactly.
Right.
Unstable, churning, very hard to settle. Our mental processes are just inherently unstable at first. But as you practice, get better with those antidotes, the mind settles. It becomes more like the slow waters of the Ganges.
Okay, still moving, but calmer, right? There's flow, but it's not chaotic. The mind can stay in a more natural state, even if distractions pull it away briefly, it comes back. And then finally, the mind achieves meditative concentration, samadhi. That, Tilopa says, is like a river dissolving into the ocean. At that point, all the really disturbing mental stuff just ceases. Even subtle ripples just disappear on their own. They don't disrupt anything. You're left with this deep, undisturbed calm. Thoughts, feelings, they just don't have the power to weaken your focus anymore.
Waterfall to Ganges to ocean. That's very elegant. But, I can hear someone thinking, okay, great image, but how do I get there? What are the steps? And the sources do offer more detail, right, from the sutra tradition, a more granular map.
Yes, exactly. The sutra tradition gives a more detailed roadmap with 9 stages, but it's really important to see they aren't contradictory. They map the same territory as Tilopa, just with finer lines. For instance, stage 1 is just staying. You're simply trying to concentrate. Making the initial effort, then you get to restorable staying. This is where you're constantly noticing you've wandered and bringing the mind back using mindfulness again and again.
Okay, constant returning.
Right. Progressing further, you reach one-pointedness. Here, the mind can stay focused pretty well, using both mindfulness and alertness, applying those antidotes skillfully when needed. And then, eventually, you reach meditative concentration, samadhi, where staying focused requires basically no effort at all. It's just stable. So you see, both traditions are describing that same inner journey, quieting the mind, stabilizing attention, just using different levels of detail in their maps.
That helps connect the dots. And there's another analogy the texts use, isn't there, about learning to read. It captures that shift from effort to ease.
Oh, it's brilliant. Think about learning to read. At first, it takes huge effort, right? Sounding out letters, putting words together. It's hard work. Even after you know the basics, for a while, reading still requires conscious effort. But eventually, for someone who reads fluently, it's effortless, natural. You just read. The meaning flows.
You don't even think about the mechanics.
Exactly. And it's the same with meditation. Initially, strong conscious effort is needed, developing mindfulness, applying alertness, catching distractions. But as you get skilled, as the mind stops wandering so much, maintaining that focused state becomes, well, effortless. It's just where your attention naturally rests.
Okay, this brings us back to those pleasant sensations. Bliss, clarity, non-conceptuality. Because the sources say you encounter these as you gain experience. And honestly, bliss and clarity, they sound pretty great. My first thought would be, yes, this is it. So what's the danger in grabbing onto those? And why aren't they the real deal, the true samadhi?
It's a really common point of confusion and a great question. The sutra tradition clarifies this well. Those experiences, bliss, clarity, even a sense of no thoughts, they're signs. Signs that your mind and body are gaining flexibility, becoming more suitable for practice. They often mean you've reached a good level of concentration within what's called the desire world. You've quieted the really gross everyday mental noise.
So they're positive signs, progress markers.
Definitely positive. They make practice enjoyable. They show you're on the right track. But they are not samadhi itself. Think of it like getting a really fantastic fast car for a long road trip. The car is great. It makes the journey smooth, enjoyable, shows your driving skills improving.
But the car isn't the destination.
Exactly. It's just a wonderful vehicle. True samadhi, especially as you progress into subtler levels, the form world, the formless world concentrations, goes beyond even pleasant feelings. It's a deeper, more profound equilibrium, utterly stable, clear, unperturbed by anything, including subtle joy. In fact, in the later stages, the dhyanas, you actually move beyond conceptual thought and analysis altogether. It's a different kind of state entirely.
Okay, so understanding that helps avoid getting stuck.
Which brings up a key question: why? Why put all this effort into calm abiding, into shamatha meditation? What's the ultimate purpose? And the answer is fundamental. It's the basis for both what we could call worldly paths and transcendent spiritual
Okay,
paths.
let's break that down. Worldly path. So for our everyday lives, it's about clearing out the mental junk, the stuff that keeps us agitated.
Precisely. On the worldly path, shamatha cleanses those gross impurities, that chaotic thinking typical of the desire world, strong emotions, scattered thoughts. It calms things down. It prepares the mind to maybe deal with subtler issues later on. But for the transcendent path, the path towards deep insight, liberation shamatha is absolutely crucial. It's the non-negotiable foundation for developing vipassana, penetrating insight, seeing reality
I
clear.
can't have insight without calm.
Simply impossible. The texts are very clear. Trying to develop vipassana without shamatha is like trying to see clearly through a waterfall, just chaos. Or like trying to see by the light of a lamp flame trembling in the wind. It's too unstable. An untamed mind is like a whitewater river. A mind that can't stay calm cannot gain insight into how things really are. It can't break free from samsara.
Samsara, the cycle of suffering, right? Driven by our untrained minds.
Exactly. So shamatha provides the stability needed to see through the confusion.
That's a stark warning. You can't see clearly if the water's always churning. So practically speaking, how long do you need to practice shamatha? Do you have to become a total master of calm before you can even think about insight, about vipassana?
That's a good practical question. The teachings suggest the main goal for most is to reach at least the first stage of form world concentration. That's a fairly deep state of calm. But if that's proving difficult, reaching the stage of one-pointedness, remember that one, where you can stay focused using antidotes, even within the desire world, is often considered sufficient.
Sufficient for what?
Sufficient to begin effectively integrating vipassana. It's not about hitting the absolute peak of shamatha first. There's a teaching from the master Pavo that's relevant here. He said, look, someone not on a spiritual path might achieve incredibly high concentration, even formless states. Amazing focus, but without the skillful means of the path, without combining it with wisdom, disturbing emotions can still arise and pull them right back into samsara's cycle. However, someone on the path, even if they've only reached one-pointedness, not the absolute peak, can combine that stability with vipassana practice and actually make progress toward liberation, towards exiting samsara.
So it's the combination that's powerful, not necessarily peak calm alone.
Exactly. The combination is key. Shamatha isn't just the end goal, it's the absolutely solid launch pad you need for the rocket of insight.
Wow. So pulling this all together, shamatha, calm abiding. It's not just about feeling peaceful, is it? It's about building this incredibly solid foundation, a stable platform from which deeper understanding, real wisdom can actually arise. And its core value, especially in Mahamudra, is enabling that clear seeing, that vipassana. What a fascinating deep dive today. We've really covered some ground. From the importance of the right attitude before you start to how mindfulness and alertness work together like active tools. Understanding those stages, waterfall, river, ocean, and crucially, seeing why calm abiding isn't just nice to have, but the essential bedrock for any real insight, for daily life or for, the deeper journey.
Indeed. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. The sustained effort involved in developing this calm mind, the way these ancient texts describe it, it's not just about finding momentary peace or chasing pleasant feelings. Not at all. It's really about cultivating a stable inner environment, an environment that lets you perceive reality with startling clarity, free from the usual distortions of dullness, fogginess, or mental excitement. Just imagine. Imagine what insights, what possibilities that kind of clarity could open up in your own life. Seeing things clearly, maybe for the first time, acting from wisdom, not just reaction.
Powerful stuff to think about. We really encourage you to reflect on these principles, maybe see how they resonate with your own experience or practice. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.